Hello and welcome back once again to After the Credits. Today we're talking about Coco, the newest addition from Disney Pixar, about a boy who goes into the afterlife. So what did I think of Coco? It was okay. It's a kid's movie, so its target demographic would enjoy it, but again it falls into that same repetitive Pixar story that they tell in almost every movie. So this one is based more on Hispanic traditions of Day of the Dead, how they honor their past family members, and so on and so forth. And it's about this young boy who has a love of music, wants to be a musician, but his family forbids music, mostly because of, I want to say it's his great-great-grandfather, who was a mariachi and left home to go play for the world and never came back. So his great-great-grandmother said that since he abandoned the family, the family would no longer listen to music. Even though his great-grandmother, Coco, still loved music in secret just like he did, no one ever knew that. They don't find that out until almost the end of the movie. And then his grandmother is more like his great-great-grandmother, who was just like forbidden of music, and she hasn't let her family near music since she's been alive, basically. So if like mariachis are walking down the street or there's a parade nearby or anything like that that she can hear, she like runs out screaming at everyone, no music, and kind of frightens them all away and whatever. And they basically take on the life of shoemakers. So then one day, the boy's down at the festival shining shoes, and his grandmother comes out and freaks out because he's at the festival where there's music. He's like, I'm not here for the music, I'm just here to shine shoes to make some money. She goes, well, you can shine shoes other places, don't be here at the festival. And he's like, there's heavy foot traffic, people are constantly walking, their shoes get dirty. He has a logical point of why he's there, and he can listen to a little bit of music in the background, but she doesn't want any involvement with the music, whatever. So one night he decides he's going to sneak out and go play in the festival because they have an amateur musician competition. So he's like, you know what, I'm going to go sneak out and play in the competition. His grandmother catches him and destroys his guitar, so he runs away from home angrily, which, you know, he has a right. Why'd she have to destroy the guitar? Even like his dad just kind of sits there like, Mama, what are you doing? And then like she looks at him and he just kind of backs down and watches her destroy her son's guitar. And it's like, hey, bitch, knock it off. But you know, no one says anything to her because they're all afraid of her or whatever. So, kid runs away, and he's looking to borrow someone's guitar that he can play in the festival with. And no one will loan him a guitar, so he decides to break into the grave of this famous mariachi and borrow his guitar, which is mounted on the wall above his grave, go play in the festival, and then he'll return the guitar afterwards. And when he steals the guitar, he's transported into the world of the dead because you stole from the dead. And it's basically kind of a curse. So he meets up with his deceased family members who are at the graveyard for Day of the Dead, and they kind of take him back into the land of the dead, and they're like, hey, you know, we're not sure. He's like partially crossed over, but not really. You know, what's going on? How do we send him back? And they said, well, all you need is a family member's blessing to be sent back. So his great-great-grandmother says, I'll give you my blessing as long as you never play music again. So he goes, okay. So she sends him back, and first thing he does is pick up the guitar and tries to go play music again, and he ends up back in the world of the dead. So she refuses to grant her permission for him to go back unless he agrees to never play music, never be around music, whatever. So he says, screw you, I can find another family member who will give me their blessing. And he has it in his head that this dead mariachi is his great-great-grandfather because of the photo that they have on the family's wall of past family members, which they put up for the Day of the Dead so that family members can come back to visit because it's basically showing that you remember them. There's a photo of his great-great-grandmother with his great-grandmother as a baby, and there's like a ripped-off portion where his great-great-grandfather would have been. And when he's looking at the picture, he realizes that the guitar in the photo of the mariachi matches the guitar of this famous mariachi. So he goes, oh, he must be my great-great-grandfather, so I'll go find him and get his permission because he's a mariachi, he loves music, he'll approve of my decision, I'll be able to go back and play music. So he's trying to make his way to find the mariachi, and he runs into this other guy who's trying to cross over into the real world for the Day of the Dead, but can't because his photo's not on anybody's family credenza thing. So basically, kind of no one remembers him. So he's trying to cross over and he can't. So he finally runs into the kid and he's like, well, I kind of know the guy, so if you really want to get close to him, I can take you to him. And then it's just kind of their adventure of getting there, and does he actually know the mariachi or not? Is he just running him on a wild goose chase? Because his idea is that I'll take you to the mariachi, and when you cross back over the real world, you can put up my photo somewhere so that I can cross back over and go and see my family. So he agrees to help him if he can take him to the mariachi. So then it kind of leads you on this path of, does he actually know the mariachi, or is he just stringing the boy along so that he can get his photo up so he can cross over? And I'm not going to tell you exactly how it ends, but it's a Pixar movie. You can probably figure it out. Eventually he finds out that people aren't who they say they are, and through the course of different actions, his great-great-grandmother learns to forgive and forget and starts to allow music back into the family, which doesn't really translate into the real world because they're dead. But when the boy gets back to the real world, he goes back to his family and he decides he wants to play a song for his great-grandmother, and his grandmother's freaking out and about to, destroy his guitar again, the new guitar that he got, the one he stole from the graveyard. And this time the dad finally steps in and is like, "Ma, knock it off, let him play." And so he plays, and the grandmother kind of like wakes up because she's been kind of, not really comatose, just kind of spaced out for most of the film. And she kind of comes back around and she's like, "Oh, hey everyone," and like kind of starts talking, and she realizes the Day of the Dead, so she starts telling stories about past family members and stuff, so they all kind of gather around and listen to her story again. And the grandmother kind of realizes that she was a little harsh by trying to be too much like her grandmother, which was the great-great-grandmother, and it almost tore her family apart, and maybe she should lighten up and let music back in, because it makes more of the family members happy to hear music, and it kind of gave her a few extra years with her mother that she didn't think she would have got. So she lightens up, and the family kind of comes to appreciate music more, lets it back into their life, and that kind of wraps up the movie. Again, I'm not telling you all the details of the twists and turns, but it's a Pixar movie. Like I said, you can probably figure them out. So what would I give as far as a star rating? I'd say probably a 3.5. It, again, is a standard Pixar movie, hits a lot of the same tropes, but again, it's enjoyable. You just have to get past that whole it's targeted towards children thing and get into the fact that there is actually a story here, and it is interesting to learn about other cultures and their traditions and so on and so forth. So for that, once you can get past the kids aspect of it, it's actually a fairly decent movie, so I'm going to give it a 3.5. Not much more to say about it other than that. So again, as always, thank you guys for watching. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, share the video. Links are down in the description. Click the bell next to the subscribe button so you get notifications every time I post new content. And until next time, I'll see you after the credits.